people think that pleasure or happiness or fun comes from the outside. But actually, pleasure and happiness and fun all comes from a type of suffering. So for instance, let me give you a for instance. It's actually depression that comes from satisfaction. So let me clarify that, because words are a tricky thing. For instance, if I'm very hungry and I eat a steak dinner, that steak dinner is gonna have relieved my pain of hunger. Now I'm gonna have a sensation of pleasure. However, if I tell you, eat that steak dinner and you enjoy it, then I bring you another steak. Tell you, eat that one too, Eddie. Now you enjoy it, but not as much. Then I bring a third and a fourth, and you're like, please, no more. And I force you, a sixth, a seventh.
Gonna be throwing up.
Now you're getting sick.
Yeah.
Now the same steak that gave you pleasure now is making you ill. Now the sight of it is scaring you. Now you know that this madman making me eat steak, now he's torturing me.
Mm-hmm.
So where does pleasure come from? The pleasure came from your appetite. Now in the West, we have an incredible epidemic of depression. We do.
Huge.
Why? Because when I gave you that first steak, it was good. The second one wasn't as good. The third one, you're satiated. Your needs are so met all the time. You're so pampered. You're so taken in the West. I mean, as a Western society, we have so many resources. I like to call us the billionaires of history, the trillionaires of history. We live better than ancient kings. Literally speaking, we have water, electricity, transport, food, medicine, vaccinations, etc. We are what Nietzsche would have called the last man. You know, we're that fat cat on a pillow, so to speak. We're benefiting from all the hard work our forefathers did to bring society to this level. And now we're numb a bit. Why? Because we have too much. We have satiated our desires so much, so often, that the second you have a slight amount of hunger, you're eating. The second you have a slight amount of discomfort, you're sheltered. So what happens? That person becomes numb. A happy person goes through a cycle of pleasure and pain. A happy person goes through a cycle of pleasure and pain. So for instance, if you're very cold and I give you a blanket, you'll feel a great sensation of warmth. You'll have this great experience. However, if you're already warm and I put you a blanket on you, that same blanket now is causing you discomfort. So why in the West do we have the most amount of depression when we have the most amount of resources? It's because we've overconsumed. Now take somebody who's addicted to overconsumption and tell them, look, stop eating and drinking for 16, 20 hours. It's going to be very hard for them. Why? They have a habit formed. Their eating and drinking is easy for them. And actually, if you know the process of how a habit is formed in the mind, it's actually quite easy to explain why it's very difficult for them to break a habit. A habit is just a very efficient way for your body to do the same thing over and over again. It actually saves energy by creating a habit loop.